88 Volvo 240, and it's really smooth right now, but about a month ago it was backfiring and like had a weird hesitation, and it just eventually just stopped running. I check it out and it turns out both pumps are dead, and there's this weird sediment that's in the fuel tank. So I had to drop the fuel tank and change out both pumps, and I went ahead and recorded it just to see how it did show how it goes. And you know, it runs well now, but I'll first start off with the steps of how to take out the gas tank, and here it is. Dropping the fuel tank is it's pretty simple. There's just, I think, 5 bolts that hold it to the body, and then you have to disconnect the filler tube, which should be a 10mm nut, and then you just kind of drop it out from under the car. The tank itself is probably, I'd say, about maybe 10 or 15 pounds empty, so you want to discharge as much as the fuel as possible. When it's full, it gets a lot heavier, a lot more dangerous. How you discharge the fuel is up to you. You can do manual or electric pumping. Sometimes the fuel tank has a drain at the bottom. You can use that. I've drained out this tank, so I'll go ahead and take it out of the car now. So you do want to disconnect the in-tank pump connections. There's an electrical connection, and then your supply line and your drain line right there. And I like to cap off the top sender hole that goes into the tank so things don't start sloshing around. So yeah, you disconnect it and then cap it off. Just stick some bolts in there so bugs and stuff don't crawl in. And then you have to take this access panel out of the trunk in order to access the filler tube. And it's just going to be an 8mm screw there and some pop rivets. With the panel out of the way, you can disconnect this vent and start moving some of this tar around and push the rubber gasket through. And that will let this filler tube slide out from under the car. Next, you want to push this gasket through onto the outside of it. And then open up the door, take off the cap. Okay, so here it is. Filler tube is free from the body, and we can start by dropping the tank from the bottom. It helps to jack up the rear of the vehicle to get access underneath the car, and it does help to have the rear passenger wheel off of the car, so you can get to the filler tube nut. Going underneath the car and behind the bumper, you will see the fuel tank. This is it right here. And it should be held in by 5 14mm bolts. There's 2 right there that are also share the crash triangles, and there will be 2 on the other side and 1 right in the middle in front of the rear axle.
Yeah.
So we'll start off with this 14mm bolt, the center one, and then I'll move on over to the passenger side along with the crash triangle. So the passenger side crash triangle should come out, and I'll explain why in here in a minute.
It's recording, but you're not there. Is it okay if I stand up?
Huh?
Can I stand up?
Turn it up.
No, stand up.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, here I am.
Sure.
Oh.
Had it going the wrong way for a minute. Okay.
The other way?
Yeah. No, I had the impact going the wrong way. Right.
You pull that out.
Yeah, this is a crash triangle, and we need it out so we can access the
Stop
the
it?
filler tube.
Can I stop it? I'm stopping it.
Sure.
I'm recording it.
Let me see.
It's recording.
Oh, thank you. But can I get it?
Yeah, here.
Give me that light now.
The light?
Yeah.
Okay, can I light it or no?
Well, I actually need to light it, if that's okay.
Yeah, I can light it up.
Okay. Okay. So the crash triangle out of the way, you can get access to that 10mm bolt, and that's what holds the filler tube to the tank itself. And you want to just loosen it up so when you pull everything out, you don't bend and break the tube. There's not a lot of room back here, and even less so with the crash triangle in place. And so you want to get this loose, and you do want to be careful with this clamp. It's actually very fragile. It's bent just right in the middle, and it can snap in half, and it's a pain in the ass. Okay, so here's the tank removed from the 240. I did have to finagle the filler tube just a little bit. It helps so much when it's got play and it's not held in place by that rubber gasket or by this right here. And the whole thing kind of just slides around so you can have some room to pull the tank out. And going underneath, you can see this is the tank, the filler lip. I scraped it up just a little bit. There was some pressure on it whenever I couldn't slide it out. Alternatively, I guess I could have slid the filler tube up and then dropped the tank out. But either way, you want it disconnected at the clamp. So it's here's everything. You've got your supply line and your return line there capped off. The fuel pump I already took out. Yeah, and here's the tank. Here's the filler tube, and it just kind of goes in like that. And the clamp goes around it. And I actually marked the tube and the tank so I can line it up the way it was beforehand. I'll probably have to engrave it because when they clean the tank, they'll likely lose that mark But yeah, I'm gonna keep that out and in a clean spot and take this over to the cleaner. It's actually really clean in here.
Everywhere?
Yeah, there's like some black undercoating from when I scraped the tank, taking it out, I think, and taking the pump out, but I really can't see that sediment anymore unless it's, you know, just...
So
I mean, it's there. I know it's there because I saw it, but it's kind of...
what's the plan?
I think I'm still gonna clean it.
I mean,
All right, so if you're going through your inventory list right now for all your hardware, you should have 4, 5, 6, 7 14mm bolts, one washer. The one washer goes over to the bolt that holds the tank up in the middle between the axle and the tank. And then you have 2 14mm bolts are for the tank itself on each side, plus an extra 2 that holds the crash triangle on the passenger side rear. You should also have a gasket. It's kind of like a rubber donut that goes between the tank and the filler tube. So at this moment, you have several options. You can go ahead and order a brand new gas tank, or you can get your old one cleaned. I am gonna opt with cleaning the old one. The reason being is that a lot of the aftermarket gas tanks, I haven't seen very quality versions of them. I've seen them leak at the seams, and I've also seen that the inside of the tank, there's a fuel bowl, and that's what the fuel pump, in-tank fuel pump, sits in and keeps it cool. And they're a lot more shallow than the OEM ones. So if I can stick with the original tank, I will. Just going over this one, it's in fairly decent condition. I don't see any wetness or leaks around the seams of the two halves. Looking in there is definitely some corrosion, but it's not rust, really. The walls are actually fairly clean, but there's some sort of sediment buildup right at the bottom of this. You can't really see it. It's not going to focus in, but overall, the tank itself, it's pretty rust-free. No weird stuff. Cost-wise, it's about the same, I think, if you find a good place to clean the tank and to buy a new one. It's up to you. But yeah, we'll take this tank over to get it cleaned. I'll get the pumps, and then we will reinstall everything.